Hi, my name is Scott Cherkin. I'm the EVP of Product and Business Development at Complex Media. When I was starting out in my career, I was a marketing major at Penn State, and there were really two paths. People said, well, if you're in marketing, that means you should go into sales, or you could interview at some of the big companies that were interviewing on campus. There was Walmart and Barnes & Noble coming through to kind of, you could be a store manager, and I knew that was not going to be for me. I found this really unique opportunity with a friend's uncle, and this is not a path that I think would naturally come about for anyone, but he had started the first advertising agency in Romania in 1989. And 5 years later, when I was graduating college in 1994, he had 10 different businesses, and it was an American-Romanian joint venture, and they said, you know what, we could use another, someone who thinks with a Western kind of thinking to a market economy. And I found an opportunity to go abroad. And while that might not be a situation that's repeatable for you, what I would encourage you to do is find adventure. Find something that gets you excited. This was an opportunity for me to go abroad, and I wasn't going to be one of these kids who was able to go backpacking through Europe at the end of college. This was my opportunity to go do something really unique, and I grabbed it. I went abroad for a year, and it was a big learning experience. This was a media company that was kind of ingrained in sort of Eastern thinking, and it was very, hey, why don't we try this, why don't we try that, and it was a really entrepreneurial experience for me. This was a time when the internet wasn't really, this was 94 and 95. I got my first email address in 1994 when I was graduating college, and I fell in love with the internet. It was 94, 95, and I hooked up my parents with AOL, and that was not an easy thing to do in 94, 95. I said, you know, Mom, Dad, I'll get you on AOL. I don't know how I'm going to connect in Romania to the internet, but I will, and I'll figure it out. But so over there, I made a relationship with the university, Bucharest University, and they let me go into their computer lab. They thought it was neat to have an American around, and they didn't have a lot of exposure to Americans. And so we had a nice relationship, and I got to use the computer lab whenever I wanted. And at that time, there wasn't much on the internet. There weren't as many websites. There was really email and a platform called Gopher, which allowed you to kind of go into different university folder structures and see your friends' names. And I just totally geeked out and fell in love with it. What I also realized for me, being in media and marketing, was that New York was the center of the world, particularly for advertising, media, marketing, and I knew that I needed to come back here. I grew up in Philadelphia, but I knew that New York was the center of this space. And I took an entry-level job that I found because my best friend from growing up was moving to New York, and this was like the confluence of perfect, okay, let's go do New York. And found an entry-level job that wasn't particularly exciting, but the internet was starting, and my job in sort of marketing and auditing of magazines, which was just a very boring entry-level job, started getting into auditing websites. And I realized, and what you do in this concept of auditing a website or a magazine is getting validated statistics so that advertisers know exactly what they're buying. And I was like, okay, well, people are taking this data that I'm validating and they're making money with it. And entry-level New York City jobs, like, you don't make a lot of money. You're here to kind of figure it out, and the money comes later. So that's just, I would encourage you to go find great experiences that you're passionate about, and it'll come. But so I started realizing that people are starting to make money on the internet with the data that I'm validating, and I started pursuing how can I get involved in the internet. I knew it was going to be a thing, and I loved it. So I started networking. It's all about sort of informational interviews. This is how I got involved with the internet. This was 1996, and AOL was starting a New York City office. They hadn't had one yet. I had a friend who was good friends with someone at Time Warner, where Time Inc. had their own everyone wanted to be a portal in 1996. So Pathfinder was a platform where Time Inc. was publishing. It was like sportsillustrated.pathfinder.com and people.path. Everything was on this thing, and they were hiring. AOL was starting a New York City office, and I was able to network to people who connected me with people who I sat down for just informational interviews. What do you do? How do you get involved in this? How can I get involved with this? And some of the people were like, well, we really need experience. Here's, and how often do you hear as a young person, what really needs experience? And like, how do I get the experience if how do you get in there? And sometimes people will just respect the passion and the nature of how you speak with them, how you approach them, how you think about the business and share ideas and really geek out with people. And so by expressing my enthusiasm for the space, the guy who was starting the AOL office says, I love your spirit, but you don't have the experience for what we need to do at AOL right now. But let me connect you with these guys I know who do need someone like you, who's smart and scrappy and wants to get in there. And that was my first job in the internet. I started in December 1996. It took a few months. I remember going to Internet World. It was a big conference at the time, and I was just so excited. I got a T-shirt. I got, and I saw this, one of the founders of the Motley Fool present. And there were a couple people presenting ahead of him that, did a standard PowerPoint presentation on a stage. And I just remember, I can't remember which of the Motley Fools was up there, but he was so dynamic, without a PowerPoint, ran through like in such a dynamic, smart way. And I was like, I was just blown away just by the whole culture and everything about it. And I knew this was I was going to make something happen. And it's been looking for great opportunities, and shortly thereafter, getting my teeth cut in sort of this AOL environment, in the startup within AOL, I found a job at a company called theglobe.com, which was an early sort of community site. It was like GeoCities or Tripod, and it was sort of 1.0 for what we talk about social today. It was about community and chat rooms and building a personal homepage on the internet. And that was an amazing experience. I was part of the first 10 people in New York City. It grew to 200. It was pre-IPO and post-IPO. I sold my own ads. I trafficked my own ads when I talked about ad ops before. I learned every part of that business. And that's what I would encourage you to do, is find a small company where you can wear a lot of hats and figure a lot of stuff out. Will be opportunities to go in bigger companies and with more structure, but the opportunity to be empowered to think and execute and fail. Hopefully you fail fast. We talk about that a lot in sort of internet culture, is if you're going to screw up, do it fast and move on and learn from your mistakes. But to have that opportunity, to have people empower you, because in small companies there's no time and there's not enough resources and you've got to figure stuff out. That's just the most fun in the world. You learn a lot, you challenge yourself, and you get a chance to achieve at amazingly high levels that in bigger companies where there's structure, you're just not going to get that chance.